question. There are a couple comments there as opposed to questions. One question that we have here is, for you, Peter, is what do you mean by AI?
What do I mean by AI?
That's the question.
That's the development of intelligent machines. And it goes all the way back to the 50s. But what's new in AI that's coming under the new name of cognitive computing is this deep learning, where instead of having to be constantly supervised, the systems learn on their own.
Okay, and next question here is, let's see, AI is the ability to make decisions and then to make predictions. Playing games is always about acting on stimulus. So that appears to be a comment, and
I can address that.
Oh, okay.
The whole idea of gamification is to apply the actual neuroscience, if you will, of video games, but putting into a serious context. Phaedra Boyenderis, who's in charge of gamification at IBM, has written a book called Serious Games for Business. And it's being used to teach BPM in over 1,000 universities. It's called Innovate, I-N-O-V, number 8. And it's being used in a whole number of areas. But what they're doing now with their gamification software is building Watson into it. So the game scenario will then have this deep learning that interacts with the players. And some of the examples, I cover them in my book on cognitive computing, are how it tracks people's careers through human resources in a game situation, yet it's tracking where the person is in their development and helping them move along. So the two are going together. As in the opening of the video, was cognitive computing is going to affect the other three areas, and mobile, analytics, and gamification. And that's certainly going on today, I know, inside of IBM.
Okay, great, thank you. And the next question is deep learning a way to update the knowledge base based on situations presented?
Yes, it's for feedback. It's like a kid learning to ride a bike. The first few times they stumble and fall. Tomorrow they get a little bit better, and they're building and building and building on experience based on the feedback. So it's the analytics built into systems like Watson that, like you saw in a little video from Demis Hassabis, at first it lost the game every time. But after looking with what's called back propagation of errors, that's where Geoffrey Hinton made the breakthrough in deep learning. The system learns through experience. So any particular system will still need feedback instead of just supervision, and it gets smarter and smarter as it goes.
Now, another question is, how close are we as a society from a technology standpoint? How close are we to really making the types of things that we were seeing in these videos reality?
Well, a lot of it's happening already. The thing about artificial intelligence is always going to be there in the next 10 years, and the next 10 years, and this has been going on since the 50s. But if you look, for example, at how they're using Watson at the Sloan Kettering Cancer Institute and the Cleveland Clinic, they're using this deep learning right now in practical applications. And folks with the Industrial Internet Consortium, that was started by Joe Salvo at GE, they're also using these technologies for smart Internet of everything. So machines and we talk about in our Next Wave book, an example of vehicles being painted in a GM plant. It's the painting stations who are negotiating and fighting with each other. I've got the right color for what's up next, so the machines themselves are governing their own action versus a human pushing the buttons and making things happen. So on almost every front, in finance, in fact, with returning soldiers with PTSD, USAA uses what's called Ellie. Ellie maps your face with little dots and knows the tone of your voice. So a returning soldier he's not going to open up to a shrink, but Ellie can open them up, and because she's dealing with their emotions. That's why this affective part of IA is something that's really new, all the way down to the point where there's a company that's just released a chip that handles emotions. So it's going on now. It's not something to wait 10 years or to look at later. It's something to start addressing this very moment. And most of the startups that are out there in the different industries, you certainly, if it's in your industry, you want to reach out and connect with them. I'm just now building a website called cognitivetrends.com, and there you'll see a whole listing of the companies who are at the startups in this area.
Interesting.
And,
Very
and as well, IBM, instead of trying to do this on its own, has created an ecosystem. So it has a developer's ecosystem where people can use their technology in the cloud without having to host it in their own data centers. So just like Amazon jumped ahead in the cloud computing world with Amazon Web Services, IBM's trying to jump way out front in this area where they're trying to build an ecology so that startups and other companies can use the technology without having to host it. It'll all be in the cloud.
Okay. And from a time standpoint, this is the last question that we'll have time for. But anyone who has additional questions, please send them in to us at ABPMP, and we will get those questions over to Peter so he can help you address them. The last question today then will be, can Deep Blue construct financial models?
Absolutely. Deep Blue's the old version. What's happening now in the Watson world, if you were just to Google IBM Watson plus finance, you'll see all kinds of applications taking place already. I don't have the names of all the companies that are using it, but it's definitely on my radar.
So this technology and these concepts are actually here now, and in some of the more advanced companies are actually starting to be used and to take hold.
Absolutely. That's why, my whole reason for writing this book called Cognitive Computing is I went, oh my gosh, it's no longer in the future, it's now. And I can tell you, we spent many hours trying to get the book down to 78 pages so busy people would have time to read it. So more than anything, it's a wake-up call. Then with a lot of pointers to the various industries. For example, if you're into manufacturing, you definitely want to get involved in the Industrial Internet Consortium, which is sponsored by the OMG and has all the big players that are participants in it.
Well, great. Thank you, Peter, very much. We appreciate, on behalf of the ABPMP, we appreciate the time and effort that you put into joining us today and actually going through something that, at least for me, was very new and very interesting. And I'm sure it's the same for a lot of the people, probably all of the people on the call. So thank you. And again, in closing the session today, I would urge ABPMP members to go out to the website and download the presentation today. I can speak from experience on this. I've read several of Peter's books, and they're excellent. So I would recommend the books that were discussed today to everyone on the call. I think that you'll be well served